been Reppond. Thank you for watching my YouTube broadcast. Today is August 13th, 2025. So let's go through the dashboards, kind of see what's going on with the market. Last week was a good week in the market. You'll see that. And things are moving well. Is it going to keep on going to the end of the year like this? I don't personally think it will, but I'm not going to second guess it. So, okay, let's start with the first slide. These are the indexes, in my opinion, the four primary U.S. indexes, the Dow Industrials, S&P 500, NASDAQ 100, and Russell 2000 Small Cap Index, and two international indexes, the developed markets, EFA, and the emerging markets, EEM. The seventh one I'm putting in, just for a point of comparison, point of reference, is the TLT, which is the long-term government bond index. It tracks the U.S. long-term government bond. In the yellow box, kind of in the center, you'll see that the top four are equity indexes led by the developed markets and the emerging markets, followed by NASDAQ 100 and S&P 500. Two negative ones were the Dow Industrials and the long-term government bond. They were negative for last week. And then the Russell 2000 is negative year to date. Otherwise, mostly positive. The right side of the chart shows you the green dots, which tells you that those indexes or ETFs are above their moving average if it's green, below moving average if it's red. The S&P 500 breaks down into 11 industry sectors, and this is a little bit all of them out. There's a lot of green and quite a bit of red. And then when you look at the yellow box last week, a bunch of green, bunch of red, not really clear. So depends on what you're looking for, but you can look at the sector and where it is relative to the market. And that last week, yellow box, year to date, red box. 28 of them were positive this last week, and 18 were negative. Okay, here is the chart of the S&P 500 measured by the ETF SPY, and my black line shows the direction of that for the last 3 years. Clearly an upward direction, and it is an upward direction ended at the very far upper right with it going up. So right now it's got a lot of momentum. Below that is the 20 period moving average. So you can see the degree to which the SPY, in this case S&P 500, is above its 20 period moving average line. When I put this on a candlestick chart, same thing, same arrow, same direction. You see at the very end that hollow candlestick that indicates it started here and it went up to here at the end of the week. Again, a very bullish sign. I take it and put it into a daily chart and compress it down to year to date. So from January 1 to present, so this is about 7 months, a little over 7 months. It clearly went way down, and then it came up quite a bit. The black arrow indicates the direction that it is currently. It dropped about last week sometime. It dropped a lot, and you can see that when that red candlestick dropped below its 20 period moving average. Since that time, it's been working its way back up. This, I'm going to go from an absolute chart to a relative strength chart. The relative strength is that it's comparing the NASDAQ 100 to the S&P 500, SPY. And the NASDAQ 100 is the numerator, SPY is the denominator. So when it goes up, it favors the NASDAQ 100. When it goes down, it favors the S&P 500. This has been moving up, and you see this at the very end where it has a spike up. That indicates that the NASDAQ 100 was stronger during the past couple of weeks than the S&P 500. When I do the same thing with the growth stocks in the S&P 500 versus the value stocks, the growth stocks have SPY G, value stocks SPY V. And when it goes up, it favors growth. When it goes down, it favors value. And that has been moving up. And you see at the very far right of the chart, upper right, where it has gone, been moving further in an upward direction, favoring the NASDAQ 100 growth stocks. The S&P 500 compared to the Russell 2000 small cap index, same thing, moving up at the very upper far right. And the Russell 2000 basically it means that that is lagging the overall market, and large caps are doing better than small caps. The long-term government bond continues to stay weak. It's been going up and down a little bit for quite a while. I put two arrows on here to show something. This is a 5-month and 5-year and 6-month chart done on a weekly basis of TLT. TLT is the ETF, which is the long-term government bond. The black line shows the longer term over the last 5.5 years, the longer term direction of the long-term government bond asset price, not the yield, but the price. And then I put a red arrow to show when I back it all the way up to late 2022 to present. So this would be about maybe a little bit more than 2.5 years that it's basically gone sideways, sometimes above that average and sometimes below that, but over 2.5 years, not much change. I go back to September of 2024, again, TLT, long-term government bond, and from 2024, trace it and say, this is what a weekly chart looks like, weekly candlesticks look like since September. And that has gone down, but not a lot, but it's gone down some, but mostly a lot of up and a lot of down. The dollar has been going up. This is a 4-year chart, been going up over that 4-year period for sure. You can see that with a black line, but since January of 2025, this year, the red arrow represents the degree that it has gone down. So it is in a short-term period moving in a downward direction, and in a more intermediate term period still moving in an upward direction. Gold had a good week. It went up, and you see that from the very tip at the very upper right, and it has been going up nicely for the last 3 years. Silver, same direction, but silver is more volatile. You can see that on the chart compared to gold, but it also had a very good week, moving up at the very upper right of the chart. Bitcoin moved up a little bit at the end of the week, end of the chart. You can see from the black arrow what that looks like over that 3-year period of time. But when the market is going up like this, it is pulling the volatility index down. So they kind of move in an inverse direction. Low volatility means usually greater movement in equities and vice versa. I put from April early April to present, I put a black arrow to show you the direction that it has basically been going. And in the past few months, it's doing some of this on a weekly basis, but overall moving in a downward direction. U.S. versus South Korea, EWY, a good surrogate for what's going on with the U.S. versus foreign markets. Since the beginning of the year, that relationship, that ratio of U.S. versus foreign markets has been moving down, favoring foreign markets, in this case, South Korea. Prior to that time, it did a good job of moving in an upward direction, favoring the U.S. market. Gold, I told you that gold had a positive week this past week. It went up 1%, up to $33.99 per ounce, and as of this past Friday. And that's a 1% increase over the previous Friday. Silver, $38.41, a gain of 3.9% for the week, gain over the previous Friday. The gold-silver ratio is currently 88-1. A monster box is a box, a plastic box of coins. They're not coins, but silver, pure silver, 1 ounce rounds. And that is going for, as of last Friday, $19,220, almost $20,000. And that brings the total is $38.44 per ounce. That's per my son, Preston, who's in the precious metal business in Tennessee. Okay, thank you for watching. If you have questions or comments, feel free to give me a call. Thank you for watching.